Hey there everyone, this is Chelsea with Let's Talk. Today, let's break down embedded questions. Embedded questions are kind of a sneaky way to ask a question without directly asking a question. It can be more polite to ask a question this way, or maybe you're kind of trying to get some information out of somebody or imply something. So, embedded questions start as a regular question. Let's go with, why was the cow mooing? Sounds like the beginning of a good joke. So, regular question here. We have our question word at the front, our auxiliary verb, subject, and our main verb. Sometimes there's object or other. All right? Standard question word order. Embedded questions don't use that word order. So I could start an embedded question with, do you know? So, do you know why the cow was mooing? So we have question word, then subject, then our verbs together. Weird, right? This is regular statement word order with the question word at the beginning. So our noun clause will start with that question word, then subject, verb, object. I know, it doesn't seem right. We have a question word. Why aren't we using question word order? Well, it's just another thing about English. So question word, then subject, verb, object. So this is fairly easy when we're looking at a tense like this. But for past simple and present simple, it gets more complicated because of adding that auxiliary verb do or did. So let me show you an example. With a regular statement, I can say, bulls hate red. I don't actually know if that's true, but that's what they say. So bulls hate red. To turn this into a question, we have to add that auxiliary verb at the beginning. So I could say, do bulls, or why do bulls hate red? So do wasn't in our original sentence. We had to add it to form the question. So when we're making an embedded question, we don't want that extra auxiliary verb. I could say, I wonder why bulls hate red. And that auxiliary verb that we added for the question form is not present here in our embedded question. So be a little careful with present simple and past simple. Let me show you another example. All right, if our question is, where did the chickens go? Where did the chickens go? In this past simple question, we had to add this auxiliary verb did. When we did that, our main verb went to its base form. So it's where did the chickens go, not where did the chickens went, all right? We'll use the base form of that because our auxiliary verb shows us the past tense. But when we do our embedded question, I want to know, we'll do our question word, subject. And then we don't need that auxiliary verb did, we only need the main verb. But it's past simple, so we need to put our main verb back into the past simple form, where the chickens went. I know, it's kind of crazy. So with past simple, get rid of that auxiliary verb and change your main verb to past tense. I want to know where the chickens went. Now, there is an exception here, and that's when your question is a negative form. Like, why don't giraffes make noise? We want to keep this negative form in our embedded question, so we need to keep the auxiliary verb as well. Why don't giraffes make noise? Tell me why giraffes don't make noise. So when our question is negative, we'll keep that auxiliary verb for present simple and past simple. All right, now you may have noticed that so far we've only done info questions. So with all of our information questions, we'll use the question word at the beginning of our embedded question. But we also have closed questions or yes/no questions. So when we form an embedded question from a closed yes/no question, we're not going to use a question word, of course. At the beginning, we'll put if or whether. They're both super common. You can use either one, up to you. So if our question is, are the cages cleaned daily? No question word at the beginning. So our embedded question, I'm not sure, gonna start with, we'll go with if, then our subject, the cages, then our verb, are cleaned, and other information. I'm not sure if the cages are cleaned daily. So we have if at the beginning, then subject, then verb, then object or other. Whether is also just fine. Are you going to buy a pig? I'd like to know whether you are going to buy a pig. So this one has a whether at the beginning, but it's still subject, then verb, this one is a long one, and object, a pig. So same rule for both question types, just the first word will change. For an information question, the embedded question starts with the question word. For a closed question, the embedded question will start with if or whether. They're just fine. Now you might be saying, Chelsea, this sounds a lot like noun clauses. And you're right. An embedded question is a form of noun clauses. So just remember that subject, verb, object, and you should be good to go. Last thing I want to mention is punctuation for these embedded questions. So when you're deciding if we should have a question mark or a period at the end, if your initial part is a statement, I'm not sure, we'll put a period at the end. This is a statement. But if our initial clause is maybe, can you tell me? So now we've got a question, can you tell me? So at the end, we need a question mark. So all of our embedded questions come from questions, but they don't matter for period or question mark. All that matters is that introductory clause. Alrighty guys, that is all I've got for you. In the comments, why don't you tell me something you would like to know? This is Chelsea telling you it's not nerdy being wordy. Let's talk again soon.